As many of us were glued to the New York criminal trial, Trump quietly scored victories in two other legal battles just this past week. The judge overseeing his classified documents case postponed that trial indefinitely. And an appeals court in Georgia has actually considered removing Fulton County District Attorney Fani Willis from her election interference case following a request from Trump. Both developments play straight into the former president's strategy of delay, delay, delay. Joining us now, Justice and Legal Affairs analyst Anthony Coley. He's the former director of the Office of Public Affairs and former senior advisor to U.S. Attorney General Merrick Garland. Andrew Weissmann is back with us.
So it's not just me on this whole thing with Judge Aileen Cannon. You have Senator Blumenthal, Richard Blumenthal, saying this about the ability of Judge Cannon, her abilities and what she's doing. Let's take a listen.
Okay.
There are increasing, well-justified doubts about the ability and the experience that this judge should have to deal with this kind of challenging case and the kind of aberrant and seemingly erratic decisions made by this judge, I think, raise serious questions about whether she should be sitting on a case that is not only high profile, but also highly challenging in terms of the legal, logistical, and other issues that are raised.
You know, Anthony, at the end of the day, and I want to be very careful because, you know, we have immense respect for our jurists and the judges and the trials and the process. But there is such a thing as qualification and capability, right, given the immense importance of a case. And we know the rotation system in Florida just happened to land on her. I guess this is a two-parter. Why didn't, you know, the U.S. government, the DOJ, say, you know what, this trial is too important to put in the hands of an inexperienced judge? One, and two, when they didn't do that, but then saw the wheels coming off this, because we all saw where this was going with the delay, that they didn't step in and change up.
The curious case of Eileen George. When people say that the fight is fixed, this is the type of stuff that they're talking about. You have a woman here who, Michael, she intentionally appears to be dragging her feet, and she's proving herself to appear, in my opinion. She's proven to be a MAGA activist in a black robe who's giving Trump exactly what he wants, and that is unintentional delay. And some people will say, you know what, she's an inexperienced judge, that she is up in this satellite facility up in Palm Beach County, that she's dealing with classified documents, and that requires special handling. And all of that may be accurate, but at the end of the day, like, she is ignoring settled law. She doesn't appear to have an appreciation for the rules of criminal procedure. And I'll give you an example, Michael. Next month, she is holding a day-long hearing to determine whether or not Jack Smith, the special counsel in this case, has been constitutionally appointed. And as Andrew Weissmann knows, that case is already, that's an argument has already been decided, right? And so, I mean, she's a MAGA activist. She has a MAGA slip underneath this black robe, and her slip is showing. That's what's really happening.
Andrew Weissmann, she a MAGA activist in a black robe with a MAGA slip up under there.
So I have nothing as catchy as that. But let's just take some of the things that she's done, just so people understand. She was reversed not once but twice by the 11th Circuit for ruling, not one time for Trump and one time for the government. All of her rulings have been for Donald Trump. They've always been anything critical, unless she's really worried about getting sort of again reversed on appeal. She's been ruling for the former president in connection with an incredibly serious case involving this country's national security. To me, the idea that she is going to hold a hearing on an issue of law where this could be decided so quickly as to whether Jack Smith is appropriately appointed by Merrick Garland, that issue has been decided when I was on Special Counsel Mueller by judges who are appointed by both Democrats and by judges appointed by Donald Trump. that said, of course, you can do that. And I just wonder whether Judge Cannon is really going to say that Bill Barr was acting unconstitutionally when he appointed John Durham, or whether Merrick Garland was acting unconstitutionally when he appointed a special counsel for Hunter Biden, that's still in effect, or when a special counsel was appointed by Merrick Garland to examine the current president. And so, you know, this is one where the Department of Justice has appointed special counsels in the past, whether it's for Democrats or Republicans, and it is something that the department can do. The idea that she is using that as a reason to delay this case is so abhorrent and so contrary to the rule of law where, you know, as everyone here knows, justice delayed is justice denied. And the public has a right to a speedy trial, not just the defendant. It is something that the Supreme Court, even this Supreme Court, has said that the public has a right to a speedy trial, and she is denying it on the flimsy excuse that she hasn't gotten around to doing her job.
Well, and Anthony, it's not just Florida, it's also Georgia.
Right. That's exactly right. Fani Willis, you remember when Fani Willis took the stand and she said, I'm not on trial, no matter how much you all are trying to put me on trial, right? They're still trying to put her on trial for a relationship that started and ended, mind you, before a grand jury indicted any of these defendants. And so there is zero financial relationship. It has nothing to do with the underlying case. But I will bring it back. One thing that the Trump team has really been scared of this case, Simone, and that's because at its core, the evidence is not just overwhelming. You remember Donald Trump was caught on audio trying to pressure the Republican Secretary of State to find votes here. But it's not just the evidence. It is that this Georgia law provides for a level of transparency that we are not seeing in other cases. This case would have been televised, a la O.J. Simpson, and it would have been televised if it had been scheduled, even while people were early voting in September and October. So they have always been afraid of this case because of the sunlight of transparency. And Alicia, you were right. They, in framing this segment, or Michael, you were right when framing this segment, because he did catch a break this week in both of these cases.
Both of the cases, and I would also note that in Georgia, people have actually pleaded out. Like, let's just be very clear. The Georgia case, we only have a mugshot of Donald Trump because Fani Willis and the sheriff in Fulton County said, Donald Trump, I don't care that he is a former president. He is going to get a mugshot just like everybody else. Right. We only have the only people that have pleaded out in any of the cases before us, any of the indicted cases, is in fact the folks in Georgia. Fani Willis is the only person that has gotten people who were with Donald Trump to flip on him before they went to jail. I'm talking about Michael Cohen. Now, I like Michael Cohen, but he did come around after he was being held accountable. So for the people that are watching this at home and they are saying, Michael Steele is right. Donald Trump has been able to game the system. And now the only case that the American people are going to see adjudicated before them, and they're going to have to read about it because we can't watch it, is this case, the 2016 election interference case, in about falsified documents and the cover-up in Manhattan. And we don't know what the jury is going to do on that. We don't know if they're going to go so far and say, yes, he was trying to cover it up and he did these bad things. They may not get to all of those things. They may not come down on that. So it's very disconcerting because we witnessed all of these things. We saw him do it. We saw him hold the documents. We saw him. We heard him on the tape.
But there is hope, though.
Where?
At the end of the day, I mean, this is we the people. We are going to have to step up and vote in historic numbers, Simone. We did it in 2024. This man has never gotten more than 47% of the vote. Yes. Now, it's going to be a close election. It always is, right? Yeah. But for 44,000 votes in 3 states, Donald Trump would be president right now. So we can't be comfortable. But at the end of the day, it's going to come down to the people. To do what we do in democracy, and that's to go to the polls in historic numbers.